Okay, so hello everyone. So in this video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and solve compound inequalities. So, if you guys hear noise in the background, it's raining. So basically, I'm gonna do these 6 examples. There's a difference between the or and between these ones. So usually when they have something like this, they usually mean and so I just put it in that notation. So we're gonna go ahead and start with number 1, and so it says solve each compound inequality and graph your solution on the real number line. So I'm gonna go ahead and write down the first one. Okay, so here we have the first problem. 5 is less than or equal to x plus 3 is less than 7. So what we're going to do is we're going to solve for x here. And let's see here. So if I go ahead so I'm going to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 3 on all the sides, right? So then that'll give me 5 minus 3, which is 2. This is less than or equal to x. And this is less than 4. So then, so this would be, so then on the real number line, we would kind of graph, so we would go ahead and put, so we have from 2 to 4, right? So I'll do 0, 1, and then there's 2, and then 3, and 4, right? So then here, we know that 2 is less than or equal to x, so basically I'm going to go ahead and put, 1 second guys. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put, we're going to put 2 is less than or equal to x, so at 2, there's going to be a closed dot, and then is less than or equal to x is less than 4, so at 4, we will have an open dot. So then between those two, we're going to shade in between, right? So the rule is basically a less than or equal to x less than b. And the way that it would look is we would have a closed dot at a and an open dot at b, and you're just shading in between, right? This is basically x, right? So that's how it kind of works. So that's how you do that first problem. And then in interval notation, it would be bracket 2 to 4 parentheses. So this would be an interval notation if they do ask for the answer in interval notation, okay? Okay, so here's another one. So we have -1 less than or equal to -x plus 1 less than or equal to 2. So the same thing kind of goes. We're solving for x, so we're going to subtract 1 on all the sides. And so this would be -2 less than or equal to -x, and then less than or equal to 1. And then the only thing you have to do is divide all the sides by -1. But when you do that, you have to change the signs. So basically, this would be 2 greater than or equal to x greater than or equal to -1. If you flip this over, this is -1 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 2. So then in interval notation, it'd be bracket -1 to 2 bracket, and then you would go ahead and draw the number line. So we would have, so here would be -1, let this be 0, let this be 1, let this be 2. So then we're going to go ahead and we have from -1, so we're going to put closed dot at -1, and then we have 2, and it's a bracket, so we're going to put a closed dot at 2, and then we're just going to shade in between. So that is how you do that problem, and again, this is how you would write it in a normal notation, right? Be like this, okay? Okay, so here's the next one. So number 3 says -13 less than or equal to -9 plus x less than -12. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and here we're going to add 9 on all sides, right? And so then we just have -4 less than or equal to x less than -3. So then when you draw the number line, and again, there's a less than or equal to, so this is less than or equal to, so it'd be from bracket -4 comma, and then there's a less than right here, so it'd be comma 3, and then close parentheses, right? So then we have, so when we do the number line, it's from -4 to 3, so let's do 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, and then 1, 2, 3, and so really you're just shading between -4 and oh, I meant to say -3, my bad, not +3. So really, it would just look kind of like this. So you're just gonna put a closed dot here and an open dot over here, and we're just gonna shade in between, right? So really, that's how it would be. It would be from -4 to -3. Okay, so that is how you do that one. Okay, so now we get to these. So these are a little bit different. Notice the or part here, meaning that it's not really going to be of the form a less than x less than b, or a less than or equal to x less than or equal to b dot dot dot. So when we're doing these, we're still going to solve for x on both of them, but they're going to be a little bit different. So here we're going to divide both sides by 3, so we get that x is greater than 4, and then over here we're going to add 2 to both sides, and we're going to say that x is greater than 6. So then we know that there's 2 inequalities. There's x is greater than 6, and then there's also x is greater than 4. So then on the number line, we're gonna go ahead and plot those 2 inequalities. So we have, so let's do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so then we have x is greater than 4. So we have x is greater than 4, which is basically, or I'm sorry, x is greater than or equal to 4. So it's like this. Oops. 1 second, guys. Okay, so here's the thing. We have x is greater than or equal to 4, and x is greater than 6. So if I actually graph both of these, so let's do x is greater than or equal to 4. So if I do that, I'm going to get, so we have a closed circle at x is equal to 4, and then I'm going to shade to the right. Okay, and then there's also x is greater than, x is greater than 6, which is this one here. Just this one here, and I shade this way, right? So then in both of these inequalities, so in basically the intersection of these two is that we have one of them that is from 4 to infinity, and the other one is from 6 to infinity, right? So if I actually intersect both of these, like if I make them into a union, then my real answer will be from 4 to infinity, because this one includes 6, and the thing is that, you know, in reality it's going to that's basically going to be the answer. I don't really know how else to explain it. This one was a little bit difficult to do, but yeah, that is basically the answer for this problem. And if you graph it, then you know it'll show you that in both inequalities they're both shaded. So yeah. So this one says x plus 4 is greater than 6, or x over 6 is less than -1. So we're going to do kind of the same thing. For this one, we're going to subtract 4 on both sides, and this becomes x is greater than 2. And then over here, we're going to do times 6 on both sides, and we actually get that x is less than -6. So basically, we have two separate inequalities. So here it would kind of be, so we would have, on the number line, it would look something like this. We have, here's 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. And then, so in that part, there is an open circle because it's less than, right? And then at x equals 2, there's also an open circle. So we have x is less than -6, meaning that we're going to shade to the left. And then we also have x is greater than 2. And actually it should be right here. So then at x equals 2, we're going to put an open circle, and then we're going to shade to the right. Okay, so that is basically how you graph it. If they do want it in interval notation, this is more for like calculus type. So, or I'm sorry, pre-calculus, but you would say -infinity to -6, close parentheses, union, and then 2 to infinity. And that would be the way that you would write it in interval notation. So yeah. So here we have negative, so we're going to go ahead and divide both sides by -3, right? And then when we do that, we have, so it flips over. We have x is less than or equal to -1. And then over here, we're just going to not multiply, subtract 6 on both sides, and we are going to get that x is greater than or equal to 0. So really, this is one of them, and where it actually, so I think, let me, 1 second. It actually goes with, it actually goes with, or actually, no, it doesn't. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is, when we graph it, I was gonna say it goes a less than x less than or equal to b, but it doesn't. Here, we would say, we would put at 0, and then we have -1 over here, and we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., right? And so we have, and I'll just do -2, -3, -4, etc., right? So then we have x is less than or equal to -1, so that's one of them. So I'm going to put a closed dot at -1 and shade all the ones that are less than or equal to -1, right? Or that are less than -1, right? And then for x is greater than 0, or x is greater than or equal to 0, it's going to be a closed dot, and we're going to shade it to the right. Now again, in interval notation, it'll be from -infinity to -1, bracket, union, and then it'll be bracket 0 to infinity, and then close parentheses. So this is how you would do it. Again, I don't think that if you're in Algebra 1 or even like college algebra, I don't know if they make you do like the union symbol, but if they do, it's just there. If not, you can ignore this. But that is how you do these problems, guys. I really try to make sure that that I explained it as best as I could. So if anybody does have any questions, please let me know, and please like, comment, and or subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.